It is truly with such joy that we welcome all of you. I am Laura Bartels, and Mark and I are deeply grateful for your interest in learning about the programs of the Mindful Learning Year that we've been offering for years. This will be our 8th year. This evening, in what Mark has thought of as a cozy fireside chat, we hope to give you a sense of who we are, what it's been like for others to engage in one of these programs, and then invite your questions. We have a really full and hopefully quite meaningful hour planned for you. We will have a question and answer period at the end of our hour, and we will welcome you to either join us with your video on at that point or use the Q&A function to post a question for any of us at that point. So to begin, I'm going to invite Mark to speak a little to the foundations of the program itself.
Yeah, thanks, Laura, and welcome everyone. It's such a delight to have you along here. Laura and I really get excited to be able to talk about the program and really the growth that's occurred over the number of years that we've been running it. And coming to talk to you about this today gives us the opportunity to review of all the things that we've done. And, you know, the Mindful Life program and its foundations, it's been something that has been very consistent right from the very, very start of our programs. And I think it's one of the things that helps our programs to stand out. So one of the things that we really try and do is to be true to what we call the 4 keys or the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And where that begins is really this idea of awareness. How aware are we of what we're doing and why we're doing it? And it's quite fascinating. Just recently, we had a group of our students really spend some time noticing where they're unaware, where they're at some level not paying attention. And it's fascinating, even though when you're practicing this ability to be able to notice when you're tuning out, when you've been captured by something else, is such an important thing. So attention and awareness is a core foundation of our program. And it's a very important starting point. We also spend a lot of time thinking about and exploring the role of values as a core foundation. And, you know, values are those principles or beliefs that we hold as true that we want to use to inform our choices and our actions in our lives. It's how we hold what's important and meaningful for us. And so to be clear on our values and foundations is a very important part of mindfulness practice. We also spend some time trying to notice the ways that our ability to attend and perceive gets clouded or challenged. So this idea of seeing clearly, seeing things as they are, as opposed to the way we'd like them to be. And so this is a really important foundation of mindfulness practice, this idea of wisdom and being able to see things as they are, as opposed to how we like them to be. And it takes some practice and awareness, and that's a core part of the program. And the last foundation that is so crucial to our program is this idea of open-heartedness, the foundation of open-heartedness, to be able to cultivate kindness, compassion, equanimity, and empathic joy for people, for ourselves, and for people we engage with in our lives. And boy, if ever there was a time for the world to value open-hearted practice, it's now. You know, I think right across the globe, whether you're in the States or Europe or Africa or India or even Australia, the challenges of the pandemic has been significant and enormous suffering for people. And so really these four foundations of mindfulness are designed to try and help us to minimize the amount of suffering we experience and to truly understand what are those things that uh, are the sources of our happiness in our lives, the things that make a difference. Um, and how, as we begin to understand these core foundations and these things that make us happy, how we can share that with the people around us, how that can influence our experiences as families, as communities, as couples, even as groups of people and organisations and countries. So our real motivation and desire in sharing these teachings and these learnings that we have been kind enough to be taught by a range of other people is really to try and improve the level of care and compassion in our world, uh, to really make a positive difference. And this is not just a little exercise for Mark, John, and Laura to play with. This is something that we were very keen to invite you to participate in and with us. This idea that perhaps we can make a positive difference by the application of our mindfulness with ourselves and those people around us. So what we're going to do as we move into our little seminar is give you some broader understanding about where we've come from, a little bit about us, but as Laura talked about, really giving some of our students and graduate teachers the opportunity to talk to you about what they've found as they participated in our programs. So I'll pass it back to you, Laura, to really just give a bit of an overview about where we've come from.
Thanks, Mark. As Mark alluded, it was a trio of us, Mark, myself, and John Bruna, who founded the Mindful Life program. And so all of that originally came together in 2013. And also, as Mark alluded, our vision has been no less than to improve the world. And so it is with such joy that we see the Mindful Life program and things coming out of it grow so much since its inception. And to give you some brief landmarks in the MLP timeline, I am going to share my screen to show you just a little bit of what has happened over the years. So give me just a moment. Okay, here we are. So in 2013, just very briefly, Mark and John had already met and done a training. John and I had already met, and then the three of us came together to develop these foundations of the Mindful Life program and found the organization. And the first thing that we put our energy towards was the Foundations course, an 8-week course that is the foundation of the program. And you'll see here is the companion journal to the course. That was the first thing that was created. Very shortly after that, we used that basis to then develop this year-long training, both as a pathway to become a certified teacher, as well as a pathway to personal development. So originally, all the programs were year-long programs, and now we also offer the immersion semester. By 2015, we knew that it would be important to create community and bring people together to learn together, to support each other, and to enhance just connection through our goals of living mindfully. So we created the Mindful Life community, which had an online and app platform. By 2016, John's book, The Wisdom of a Meaningful Life, was published, and he traveled all around on the first book tour. The 4 Keys of Living Mindfully, the second course, was created and offered. By 2017, John was invited to do a TEDx talk in Southern California. Then we created the twin to the Mindful Life community, the Mindfulness and Recovery community, really driven by John's passion and dedication to recovery. And 2018, we saw much more happen in that MIR field. So a training institute was developed, the Mindfulness and Recovery Training Institute, which is growing in many ways today, new ways today. And the Essential Guidebook to Mindfulness and Recovery was published. By 2019, Mark had created a mindful healing course and began teaching that by 20 and began to work on a book. And, or maybe it wasn't quite that early, but the mindful healing course was offered. And then last year, we were luckily just at the beginning of the pandemic poised to upgrade our community platform and be able to add this umbrella to it, the free level of the Mindful Life Network, and incorporate both communities and have a platform that really felt much more connected and much more a community. It also allows us to have our teachers teach courses on that platform and have all their students gather and connect within a private space for each course. Last year, we also created a daily practice journal, and just recently, John has developed an 8-week mindfulness and recovery course. So that's a very quick flyover, but it's been a very full and engaging and exciting journey since we started in 2013. And a quick overview of what's in process right now. Mark has the Mindful Healing book in process and working with a publisher. The program evaluation study, we are moving towards results in that. The Essential Guidebook to Mindfulness and Recovery for Family and Friends is also at the publisher. And we are working on a Mindfulness and Recovery Institute training center that will be in Texas, and more of those to come around the country as well. So lots going on, but I just thought it was helpful to give you some of those landmarks and a bit of a timeline of how we got to where we are. And like I said earlier, the Mindful Learning Year programs have been going on all this time and have been developed more and more, and we've upgraded platforms and feel that the pandemic even helped us improve it and develop it in new ways, which we are thrilled about. Now, all of this is directed towards a wide range of applications, all focused in bringing a positive impact in people's lives, and then through improving lives, moving towards that idea of improving the world. And the applications for our programs have been from boardrooms to prisons, serving educators, healthcare workers, medical practices, public health departments, health and human services departments, emergency services like 911 dispatchers, fire brigade personnel in Australia, to sheriff's departments, and so much more. And that also is part of our vision, that this is always practical, accessible, and very universal, so that it really can reach all kinds of audiences, and not have barriers to people who are interested in improving their lives in this way. And our vision for the future, I mentioned a few of those things that are actually in process, but really our vision for the future involves people like you engaging in in-depth learning like the Learning Year programs and making a difference, whether that's personally or professionally, but taking it to circles of all kinds, circles that you're in touch with or that you really are passionate about and care about, and to locations all over. We have had participants in this program, the Learning Year programs, from several different continents, and locations, and we certainly all across the United States, but we are thrilled to see it over time expand in these ways. And we do hope that you are part of that, that is what our future is. So at this point, I would love to have Mark talk a little bit about his role and what he brings personally to this program and to mindful life in general. So
Yeah.
would you?
And thank you, Laura. Yeah, and thanks for that beautiful overview. Looking at your timeline gives you a sense of, wow. When you see it laid out from 2013, it's quite incredible. But everyone, look, it's interesting, my journey around mindfulness and how I got here. And I guess my experience around mindfulness and working with lots of different people in a range of domains of life is that often mindfulness shows up at times when we're struggling in some way or some difficulty. And that was certainly true for me, where about 20 years ago I had a fairly serious cancer. And mindfulness showed up as a way of me practicing what I could do to try and be well. So I had wonderful teams of nurses and doctors looking after me. But I really felt the need to see what I could do to improve my health. And isn't it ironic, some 20 years later, I'm working on programs called mindful healing. Sometimes these things hang around. But yeah, so I started my mindfulness practice through necessity, in a way, for this desire to be well. And over that 20 years, I've been very fortunate to have a range of opportunities to learn mindfulness from some of the core teachers in the world, I guess, in a range of different continents, from the United States to Europe and to Asia. And both to be able to compare both the traditional Buddhist mindfulness practices and also secular programs of what they offer, and which are the ones that seem to make a difference for people. And so that's really been my exposure. The thing for me has been that I'm constantly working in the mindfulness space. So when I'm not mindfulness teaching, I'm working either as a coach or a therapist. And it all relates to people at some level who are struggling or finding difficulty with things. And so that's been my opportunity to really look at the practical applications of mindfulness and how can we start bringing in and developing new practices and new habits to develop routines and rituals that nourish and support us, that help to activate that genuine happiness and flourishing from within. So my role within the Mindful Life community, as Laura talked about, I'm one of the co-founders. I'm the Australian section of the Mindful Life community. So there's not a lot of us down here in Australia, but I've got a very good colleague who you'll hear from a bit later, who's based in Perth. But yeah, so my role within the program is both as a mentor and a teacher, but also as a support person during the program. So any of you who are considering the mindful learning year, it's both Laura and I who are the two main mentors across your year or your semester, depending on what you take. And this is a wonderful experience for us as mentors, in that we learn with you. And we've had the fortunate experience of doing this now, these programs, for 7 or 8 years. So we've learned a lot about the experience of learning and this process of developing these foundations of mindfulness that I'm talking about. And it seems very simple when we ask the question, am I aware of what I'm doing? Do I understand why I'm doing it? Is it based in reality, or is it some way made up or amplified or diluted in some way? So these questions are really, really important ones to think about. And being able to sit there and ask yourself, is this beneficial? Is this helpful? Is it skillful, what I'm doing, these actions and choices I'm making? And, these are the essence of mindfulness, to have this level of awareness. And I think our role in mentors within this program is really helping people to develop those levels of awareness and the application around routine and ritual in their lives. So, yeah, I'm very fortunate to have a number of roles that allow me to immerse myself in mindfulness practices. And I think the other thing that I've been incredibly fortunate to have is to be able to work with this lady, Laura Bartels. She's without doubt, in my mind, one of the consummate mindfulness teachers. Her level of care and support and awareness and knowledge is exemplary. So I'm going to invite Laura to tell you a little bit about herself as well, but definitely wanted to highlight what a gift she is and how much I appreciate working with her.
Well,
Over to you, Laura.
thank you, Mark. I was not seeing that coming, but thank you so much for your kind words. And it in reply to that, it is a delight to teach together with Mark, and we have together continued to develop this set of programs that make up the Mindful Learning Year. And I have to say, it really has just been one of the highest delights in these last years to work together, to teach together, and to grow together alongside those who engage in the program. So really such a delight. To tell you just a little bit about my background, I too certainly came to mindfulness at a difficult point in my life, and I think it was maybe about the same years that Mark did. Mine had to do with a range of things sort of coming in layers in my life. The sort of key piece was a very bad car accident, but I was also engaged in a career in sustainability, sustainable building and development. And it was during that 20-year career and the ups and downs of life, the difficult points in life, raising a family as well, that I personally was noticing this pull towards inner sustainability and mindfulness practice. And it was something I did not see coming as a career change, but it was just an important part of my own life. And I often used to um, think of it as asking the question, how do I move through things with grace? So whether it's difficult things or the mundane parts of life, even, how do you move through life with grace and with an open heart? And it was the mindfulness teachings, and also for me, Buddhist teachings, that began to give me not only hope that uh, there was a long path to that people have gone on before me to learn these things, but there were practical skills that I could make part of my life that could change me, and that then I could become a person who could show up in ways that I truly felt good about more and more often. Of course, we're all a work in progress, but it certainly gave me that opportunity. So for many years, similar to Mark, my practice has been supported by the kindness of many, many teachers, um, both strictly secular mindfulness as well as in the realm of Buddhism. But bringing from that the roots of Buddhism, the the um, the ways that we can put that into um, a universal approach has been an important part of my engagement, and it is true with John as well, who many of you know was a Buddhist monk for 6 years in his life. So it is with such gratitude that I had the chance in 2013 to join John and Mark and help develop the Mindful Life program. And in terms of roles, I'm dedicated as the executive director to support our mission, which takes many, many forms. of activities and engagements. And as a teacher, I am delighted. I get to teach a lot of different courses and to different audiences such as sheriff deputies and 911 dispatchers and social workers, all kinds of folks, educators. Um, and then the role that this program represents is as an instructor, as a mentor, as a supporter of those engaged in this more in-depth learning process. So it's just been such a delight. And I personally am always learning. My personal practice is my foundation for my own growth and my ability to serve others. And I'm especially grateful to get to learn alongside those who engage in this in-depth process in the Learning Year programs. I think it is a joyful process where we form lifelong friendships and deeper community in the process. And so that's just a little bit about my background and my passion, really. Um, I would love to now ask Mark to speak a little bit. And while he speaks, I'm going to begin to invite our 6 guest speakers in as additional panelists. So you'll see them start to come in with their videos. So those of you who are going to be joining us, keep an eye out for an invite on your screen as I turn it over to Mark.
Thanks, Laura. And look, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time just giving a brief overview of the Learning Year program. And we're seriously excited about this Learning Year and the way it's developed. And I don't propose to go into great detail about it because Laura's done such a wonderful job putting together the outline and the brochure around the program. So I don't want to go to that level, but I did want to talk about this idea of the first semester being the immersion semester. And that's really around your personal learning and growth around mindfulness. It's your opportunity to be able to develop the basis of your own mindfulness practice. And one of the things that we find about the immersion semester is a lot of people experience that thing, well, my practice is not quite there yet. How could I possibly join this program if I've not got a twice a day meditation practice of half an hour at a time? I guess one of the things that we really wanted to emphasize about the first semester and the personal practice is this idea that you're enough, that part of this is for you to invest in yourself and allow yourself to learn wherever you happen to be at. And it's incredible that you will hear from a range of people in the next few minutes, but all of them join the program at different levels of development and experience around mindfulness. But the really important thing about the first 6 months or the first semester of the program is that it's action learning, it's engaged learning. And you're not learning on your own, you're also learning with a group of people, with peers, with your mentors, and in your life. You're practicing to apply this in your life. And I can't tell you the growth that we see in our participants in the first 6 months of the program. So if you're thinking about just wanting to develop your practice, the first 6 months or the first semester is an incredible opportunity. And then in the second semester, there's an opportunity to either think about teaching the foundations course to other people. So learning to be able to, what are the foundations of teaching the very key foundations of mindfulness to other people? And that is a wonderful program, and we've had a number of people go through that, and you're going to hear from some of them very soon. The other thing that you have the opportunity to do is to be able to have a personal development semester where you continue to learn about yourself and the application of mindfulness. So if you're doing the personal development stream, it's about you. and about your engagement in your mindfulness and those areas of learning that you choose to focus on. So it's really an opportunity to continue the immersion of the first semester and take it into particular areas of your life. So it's a great opportunity for you. And rather than hear more from me, I'm going to invite Laura to introduce some of our teachers who are going to, teachers and current students and people who have done the personal development semesters to talk to you about that. Thanks,
Thanks,
Laura.
Mark. And welcome to all of you. It is so nice to see each one of you joining from all over the place. I will have each of our guests introduce themselves and just speak to an aspect of their experience that we hope will round out your understanding of the learning year. So those of you who have joined us, as you know, we just have a brief time. And so if you would speak to where you're located, what programs you've engaged in or currently are engaging in. Some of you are in a training program right now. And then I'll ask each of you a different question that I think is helpful. So if you can keep it to just a few minutes, that would be so helpful. And I am going to ask Kevin to begin. So after you introduce yourself, Kevin, would you speak to why you chose MLP for training as a mindfulness teacher? And please unmute yourself first. As usual, that's always it's our learning curve this year.
So it's a real pleasure to be here with you all. Any chance I can hang out with my Mindful Life co-teachers and buddies is a good day. And I'm especially grateful to Laura and Mark for their wonderful friendship and teaching and mentorship, which has meant so much to me. I live in Sacramento, California. I'm a graduate of the teacher training program, class of 2018. And I'm teaching along with my wife, who's also a graduate of the program. So was that the basics, Laura?
Sure. Yes.
And so I'm very mindful of why I wanted to be part of the Mindful Life program. I'm a physician. I'm a retired physician. As part of my professional work, I was introduced to mindfulness decades ago. I actually took the very famous mindfulness-based stress reduction program twice, went through training with John Kabat-Zinn, and really my own personal practice got going when, like Mark and Laura were saying, when I was having personal issues with my wife and I were raising two challenging teenagers. And so just the stress management part of the MBSR really appealed to me. So I started a daily practice and everything was going great, very immersed in the kind of traditional MBSR approach to mindfulness. And before retiring, really became clear that I wanted to invest time after retiring in teaching. I felt a real calling. And so I looked at quite a few programs. I actually was accepted to a program run by a very well-known teacher at Spirit Rock, which is a famous Buddhist center. And I didn't feel quite right about it. And then through happenstance, actually through my wife, Laura, everything good in my life comes through my wife, I believe. Laura introduced me after attending a workshop with John and Laura and Mark to the Mindful Life program. And so the things that really appeal to me, especially the open-heartedness and focus on relationships, that is a huge and incredibly important and valuable piece of the Mindful Life program that is frankly missing in so many of the other trainings out there. The other things that appealed to me were just the ability to connect with people like Mark and Laura. Frankly, many of the mindfulness teachers that I had encountered did not have that kind of personal, they practice what they preach. I mean, the open-heartedness, the caring, the compassion, the ease of relating to them. Just talking to John and Laura on the phone before I decided to apply were big steps. These are the people who I felt like I could relate to. And the third reason really was the pragmatics. This was a program that I felt like I could do even while working full-time as a practicing physician. The cost was manageable. And so for all those logistical reasons, this clearly was the one for me. And I've never regretted it, never looked back, would never look at another program personally. So I hope that addresses the issue, Laura and Mark.
Kevin, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing. Dan, may I invite you to introduce yourself? And then for you, I'd like you to tell us the range of things you have done as a mindfulness teacher, as a mindfulness and recovery certified facilitator in bringing mindfulness to others since your trainings, actually, multiple trainings.
Thanks, Laura. Mark, so nice to see you and fellow teachers. And wow, what a joy it is to be here. And I'm so grateful that all the rest of you are interested in this amazing opportunity. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But anyway, I'm Dan Paquette, and right now I live just outside of Corvallis, Oregon, in a small town called Monmouth, Oregon. And I moved out here in 2014 to get a master's degree in environmental ethics, emphasizing in food and social justice. I met an incredible woman out here and have not found a reason to leave. I finished up my graduate program and I was looking for something. And like Laura, she was focusing on internal sustainability. And I like to think of myself as an internal environmentalist. So I had thoughts about what I wanted to do. And during the year-long program where I went on the teacher's track, as Laura mentioned, and I also am in recovery. And so I took part in the mindfulness and recovery track as well. We were one of the first communities to establish a in-person mindfulness and recovery meeting. And that was one of the very first things that we did in early 2017, even before mindfulness and recovery had started, but we were using the daily guidance and talking about it and how it applies to our recovery. And so that was really special. As I was going through the program and right when I finished up, first of all, I didn't think that I could be a teacher, and it turns out that I can. And so I have had at least 20 plus opportunities to do the Mindfulness Foundations course. I have done the 4 Keys course at least a half a dozen times, teaching it to others. But I had this idea that I wanted to really work with the idea of this internal environmentalism. And so I developed my own organization, and I had these ideas that I was going to create my own courses. And I did that. I created a course, but I realized that everything that I was teaching was exactly what I had learned in the mindful learning year. And there was no need for me to improve on perfection. But I had to go through it to learn that. But I still have my same organization. I love what I do so much that I decided to get a certification as a life coach. And I have had the opportunity to be a coach and a mindfulness-based life coach and mentor. And I work privately with people, in addition to continuing to offer the Mindfulness Foundations course and the 4 Keys course. We continue with the Mindfulness and Recovery course. And one other thing that I did out here in Corvallis, because I had so many opportunities to do the course, is I developed a meditation group on Thursday nights. And it's been ongoing from, late 2016. And I've had over 200 people, come through that meditation course. And inspired by the Mindful Life program, I write a weekly blog and send it out to the people who have come through my course. And most recently, I have found photography, and I have an established name called the Mindful Birder. And And here, my intention is to help spread diversity, seeing the beauty in the world, and then with some pithy. I don't know how it's going to work yet. It's just starting out, but it's the new thing that's come about, and I'm excited about it. I want to add one last thing that I do, how I bring mindfulness to others, and that is being more mindful. I get to show up in my relationships mindfully. And I think that is one of the most profound ways that I spread mindfulness around, is through example. And I'm a work in progress. But anyway, I'm so blessed to be here, blessed to be a part of this group. And I hope that you find this hour meaningful enough to continue on with the year-long training.
Thank you, Dan. And if you are in one of our communities or on the Mindful Life Network, you will get to see the stunning photos that Dan shares daily, I believe now, which is a treat, quite a treat. Marcus, can I turn to you now, invite you to unmute and ask you, after you introduce yourself, to share a little bit about what's been your experience of support. You've gone through both the personal development year and are just concluding the extended pandemic version of the teacher training year. Oh, now we are not hearing you. You were unmuted. Now we still can't hear you. Let's do this. Let me move on to the next person, and then Marcus, as you play with that, we'll check in with you, okay? So Claire, down in Perth, Australia, I am looking forward to hearing you share a little bit after your introduction. In your personal development year presentation, you wrote about an intention. And you said, it was my quest to explore my subjective experience and to truly notice and capture moments of joy. So my invitation is for you to speak to one or two of the benefits of the personal development year in that particular quest.
Thank you, Laura. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. So good day to everybody from Australia. It's very early here, so hence the voice. But it's great to be part of this, and I really wanted to be part of this session today just to support the work that Laura and Mark and John are doing, which has changed my life and continues to. So it's I was saying wrote to Laura yesterday, I said it's a gift that keeps on giving, and it really is. It's not a program that you just do for a year and forget. It inculcates into your life and just keeps on going. So my move into this course was really a slow underlying feeling that things could be different. And I think for me, and I talk about joy, I spent a lot of time thinking that joy was to be found outside of me in some way. So joy was to be out there, and it was like something that you could go and buy at the supermarket or go and find under a stone somewhere. And I think that during the course, what I learned predominantly, that it's not out there to be found, it's inside you to be discovered. And it was accessible to me at all times. And for me, that was really profound. And one of the exercises, just to get really practical, that you did on the course that was incredible for me was where we had to spend some time reflecting on our emotions, our sensations, our felt sensations, and record those over a period of time through a diary. And then notice how we elaborate and how we construct meaning on top of it. So, for example, I would notice that I'm starting to feel a certain movement in my stomach, and my heart rate was, improving or getting higher, etc. And then how we would actually label that. And to me, that was really insightful, because what I discovered is that a lot of the sensations were exactly the same, but the way in which I was labeling and constructing them was very, very different. And that got me thinking that perhaps that, and this is what you teach through the course, is that most of what we do, we construct. And so rather than waiting to see if joy was out there under a stone somewhere, actually maybe what I could do is construct it from within. And that became quite a pivotal moment in the course where things started to really change for me, and started to understand the ability that we have to give meaning and give significance to the things that we do in daily life, no matter what it is. And that means that joy is always accessible. It's just whether you bring it forward in your mind or not. I'm not sure whether that makes sense, but in my head, it really makes sense. And so to me, it wasn't, I didn't come to the Mindful Life course because of something major in my life. It was just a growing feeling that there could be something better, something more peaceful, something more joyful for me. And I think that's what I found through the course and continue to find. And like everybody else that's gone before me, it sort of weaves its tentacles into your life. And now even my PhD studies, which I started looking at leadership, has now started to take a turn to incorporate some of these thoughts, theories, practical applications, and align with how I now live my life. So yeah, that's my experience of it.
Claire, thank you so much. And thank you for joining early in the morning down in Perth. It's a delight to see you. It's been a little while. And I see that Marcus, I see that Marcus has been able to join us again. Marcus, do you want to check audio?
Yes. Can you all hear me now?
Wonderful. We can hear you. That deep baritone. Absolutely.
Yes,
So
indeed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would love for you to introduce yourself, and then again, turn to that question of what's been your experience of support as you've moved through these 2 different years of training.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of support, my wife came out to give me technical support on the volume. Truly grateful to be here. It's wonderful to be with you, Laura and Mark again, and all of my colleagues here. I am reaching out from Charlotte, North Carolina, and started the program here in Charlotte several years ago. And initially, I discovered the Mindful Life program because I was looking at a massage magazine. I was a practicing massage therapist years ago, and I saw this thing about mindfulness, and it was fascinating to me. And I reached out and eventually got accepted into the program. And my intentions, the first year round, was to become a certified teacher. And it was very warming to hear Mark and Laura speak again, and Kevin speak about how when they were introduced to mindfulness, it was under some very challenging times in life. And when I started the program initially to become a teacher, I got about halfway through, and I went through the first practicum, and then the wheels really just kind of fell off of life. And I went back out to California and to finish up. And when I was there, had a very open, rich, very welcoming conversation with Mark, Laura, and John, who extended that opportunity for me to repeat the program a second time and to treat that year as my personal development year. And I bring that up because, and Kevin spoke to this, that conversation that I had with them and that experience really told me so much about the program, the integrity of the program, because it wasn't about being able to speak the terms or be familiar with the terms. Uh, the essence of living mindfully is that there's a presence that will be living within you, that we show up in our lives every day, and that was absent in that first year. So that first year professional development really helped me both personally and professionally to really engage in my life in a meaningful way that I could feel good about and be proud of. So after that first PD year, there were probably 2 or 3 years in between, and I never lost contact with the community. I always felt a part of the community, even though I was not actively pursuing the certification program at the time, I was still in communicating, talking, but more importantly, embodying those principles in my life, and it was growing within me. And several years later, reached back out um, to Laura, and I saw the application open for the next class, and I very much wanted to be a part of that. And I was becoming the person that I wanted to become, and it was through the principles of the Mindful Life program. And when I started the second time around to become a certified teacher, uh, everything was really going well. I was on track. Everything was going well, and then, as you would know it, life showed up in the way of the pandemic, and it just really, on the surface, it kind of shook everything up. But I'll be honest in saying I had a foundation that was even greater than my faith. And it was through the Mindful Life program that really helped sustain me through some very challenging times, um, just globally. And as difficult as things were in the pandemic, I never felt completely out of sorts. I had a foundation to come back to. And I solely attribute that to the Mindful Life program. So it definitely changed my life. And in some ways, I felt like that it saved my life. And I am the person that I am today in large part because of this community. And I'm forever grateful for it.
Marcus, thank you so much. And it is a delight that Marcus is just about to complete his training as a certified teacher and will be joining those who are out teaching publicly. So that will be such a delight. Rita, can I turn to you now to both introduce yourself? And, you've said during your training year, which you're still engaged in at this point, and just completing your first practicum, you've said that you've developed a new level of, I think, healthy, productive introspection, I think is a bit of how you've put it. So I'm curious about how this learning year and the activities that are part of it support that growth in introspection.
Thanks, Laura. It's wonderful to get to know everyone here a little bit better. I haven't actually met many of you. So I'm Rita Claggett. I live in Western Colorado in a pretty remote rural area in a little beautiful piece of fairly wild land, and had decided that I wanted to teach meditation and stumbled upon this course, and it has been a wonderful fit. I've learned so much more than meditation. Deepening the understanding of mindfulness. I've always been an introvert. I've always done a lot of introspecting, and I've been very sensitive and very aware and observant of things around me. And so I've done a lot of deep thinking, and the thinking, in the thinking, I've sometimes made some good insights, and most of the thinking was about after I'd made bad choices and I was judging and ruminating and, projecting and interpreting, and I was focused on other people's motivations for what they had done to me and not so much on my own motivations and how I was living. And what I learned with the skills that we focused on this year, values, attention, wisdom, equanimity is a huge one. The ability to let go so much of the me, the me that everything revolves around, and open my heart and feel more like I actually belong to this species, has made my introspection so much more fun. And it's a joy now to introspect and to think about my experience and to let the experience flow through me, sort of rise up, be what it is, and move on, and to be able to let go of attachment to the me and my interpretations. So in terms of judgments, and so just the skills, the 7 skills of mindfulness: attention, values, compassion, open heart, equanimity, I had a professor once who used to say, "Oh, well," to everything that happened. And he was always jolly. And I wanted to be able to do that. And just learning these skills has given my introspection guidance and direction that's been healthy, so that I've lots of food for thought, plenty to chew on that's delicious and fun and doesn't cause me suffering anymore. And I'm not chewing on poison of rumination anymore. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Rita, thank you so much. And I want to turn to Judy. I also want to let people know who are attending that we will extend more than an hour, so that as after Judy shares, we'll still be here and continue with our Q&A part of our information sessions. So I know we're running a little bit long, but it is so valuable to hear each of our guests share. So thank you. So Judy, turning to you, please also introduce yourself, but you're one that took the foundations course multiple times. I don't know how many you've alluded to multiple times. So my question is, how is this year of learning that you're engaged in right now in the same cohort with Rita, also just having completing your first practicum in the certified teacher year, how is this year of learning different to you in taking your practice to a more meaningful level than taking the foundations course the multiple times that you did?
So thank you, Laura, and thank you, Mark. This is just such a wonderful forum, and I just feel so eternally grateful to have found this community. It is so much more than I had ever hoped for. So my name is Judy Johnson. I'm in Southern California, and professionally, I'm a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. Mindful life, I always say that this program found me. I was also going through a very pivotal point in my life. It was my significant other had just passed away from a very fast-moving cancer, and it was like 2 weeks after he passed that there was this event in my community. I went to the event. It was a raffle ticket for this foundations course. I bought a raffle. I won the raffle ticket, and that started this journey. So to the question, I want to be able to answer the question. Well, let me just say first, because of what I do for a living, the mindfulness and recovery community, like as soon as I got here, that got here. And I see in the timeline, it was an exact match. And so, so I have gone through probably, I'm going to say 90% of the offerings that the mindfulness and recovery community has offered. And I am a certified mindfulness and recovery facilitator, which I did bring into my professional life. I'm the manager of an adult drug court. I brought that program into my program, and I've seen the benefits of, just the importance of bringing mindfulness into recovering folks' lives. So that really was my, so the foundations class was so rich that there was no way that I felt like I got everything I wanted to get from it one time. So, so I did take it multiple times, and somewhere along the path between the foundation classes and the mindfulness and recovery trainings I had gone through, I just knew that this was the next logical step for me. And I hemmed and hawed with it for about a year. And then finally I was on this milestone birthday, and I just said, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm just going to do this. And it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. The difference between taking the foundations class and being involved in this mindful learning year, profound. It was like being exposed to all that information that so resonated with me on so much more of a deeper level. The information that we got here, the training, the support, the deep, deep introspection that this material causes in someone's life, in my life. I can't, on such a personal level, it has changed me fundamentally. Like even, right down to, as Rita spoke to, the way I think, my most personal thoughts, my legacy that I want to leave in this world. How much more time do you guys have? I could go on for quite some time, but I think that the biggest piece that has made that was so different from the foundations classes in this mindful learning year is the application of wisdom. So I have really taken that deep dive into wisdom, and I have learned that my values are not really pertinent unless I put them into action. I check my motivations and intentions. I want to be more kind and loving to people, and I have finally stopped and asked, why am I doing something? What am I doing? Is it beneficial and helpful to others? And is it based in reality? That was a big one for me. I'm a work in progress. I'm so thrilled to be here, and thank you for letting me share a little bit about the benefits.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you so much. And now I want to thank all of you who have shared and spoken and who have engaged in the program. And Mark, is there anything else that as we just take this pause you'd like to share?
Yeah, I guess it's lovely to hear from our current students and our certified teachers and everyone around their learning experience. And I think you can hear from the way that they've talked about the year that the learning is shared, that you're sharing as part of the community. And I think that takes this to a whole new level. So that one of the things that if you decide to come and join us for a learning year, you really do become part of our community. And it's not for the year, it's for as long as you want to be part of the community. And the relationships grow and we learn together. So as you can see, a number of our graduates and our certified teachers are teaching or coaching or helping and developing new aspects of mindfulness practice or teaching other people. So this community aspect is really, really important. And I think it engages our learning in a different way. We've adapted to COVID conditions and can do it all online now. But as you can see, we're here together. This coming together is such an important foundation of our learning and our shared mindfulness and shared intention. So we would really love you to ask questions about that or any aspect of what we've talked about so far.
Wonderful. And since we're not seeing questions now, as we conclude, and I know some people have to go, we just hope that this has expanded your understanding of the invitation that's offered by this training. It really is about you developing your own practice, your own understanding, exploring in depth through readings and assignments, through introspection, but most importantly, through learning to live it, to live mindfully and improve the world through the ripples of your own actions. And I invite you just to take up the question, what would happen if you engaged in learning like this for 6 months, such as in the immersion semester or for the year? I do want to let people know that, we have a rolling application process. While we begin in July, the applications are open now. And since we do take a limited size group, we encourage you to explore more, to ask questions. Feel free to email us or set up a time to speak to us individually and apply. So we'd love for you to be part of the learning year, which does begin in July, and join this larger community of learners and practitioners. And we are delighted that that you have joined us. So with that, I just want to make sure that we honor people's time. I know we've gone over, but thank you all who have joined as attendees. Thank you so much to all of you who shared your experiences tonight as guests. And Mark, thank you so much. It's just a
No, it was a
delight.
pleasure. And yeah, look, it's wonderful to come together and to share our learning and those experiences. And hopefully you've got a better idea around what the programs offer and the opportunities that are here for you if you choose to join us.
So nice to spend this time with all of you, and I wish you all well and continued connection as we proceed.